What's up, guys? Back again another day at Whitley Auto Works. Today, I know you probably saw the thumbnail and you're wondering what was in the box. Well, after the intro, I'm going to show you. Alright guys, so what was in the box was a set of brand new coilovers for the Civic. Most of the 88 through 2000 or 2001, if you have an Integra Civic, coilovers will work for pretty much any of the Civics. They're just pretty much universal. I decided to go with the blue ones with the gold collars and with the little numbers on it, as you saw. Basically it gives you a more accurate height adjustment, makes it a little bit easier, but these are actually coilover sleeves. You got full body coilovers too. It's a little bit different. These are a lot cheaper. A lot of people don't like them, or you know, they knock on them. They call them eBay coilovers because you most commonly find them on eBay. But if these are installed properly, they do fine. You know, they do exactly what you want them to do. They're not really much for performance. They're more aesthetic. It gives you the ability to raise or lower your car as much as you want, so that's a good thing. But let me go ahead and get the car up on jack stands and show you how to put them on. Alright, so safety is the must when doing this. Make sure your car is secure on the jack points in front of the car. As you can see, I've actually put the jack up under it. And we're going to start off with the rear. The rear tends to be the hardest part of it because there's one bolt at the very bottom where it attaches the strut that tends to rust out. Hopefully on this car it isn't, because there's not a lot of rust on it. So we can get this wheel off right here first and see if it is. Alright, so now that I got the rear wheel off, this is what it looks like. The bolts we're going to concentrate on are going to be this bolt right here, which is actually for the upper control arm. So that's got to come out. That allows everything to float enough so that once you get the strut assembly out, you'll have room to pull it out. And this bolt down here, that's the one that typically rusts. It's a 14 millimeter. We're going to see if we can get it out. Maybe we get lucky. Especially with these bolts being an older car, like a 94, it's always good to spray everything down first with an all-purpose lubricant. WD-40 or PB Blasters preferred. This is just kind of what I have. It's just a cheap lubricant, just like WD-40. So I spray everything down with it real quick, saturate it good, let it sit for a few minutes, and see if we get lucky getting these bolts off. Alright, so this is the one that's typically the pain. You got this one right here, and it typically wants to either strip out or get seized in it, so I'm hoping, being that this car is not saturated with rust, especially in this back section, that I'll get it out easily. I'm going to use a 14 on a ratchet with a little bit of a cheater bar, and let's see if we can get it out. And just like that, she's broke. Aww. That's what it's supposed to look like. That's what you don't want. Unfortunately, this side seized up. So I got lucky on one side, not on the other. So now I got to cut the strut out and replace the bushing. Step for the rear is coming back here and removing this cover, which is the hatch, so it might be different on your model. And then you got a little dust cap, and then you got two bolts. As you can see, two 14s that have to come out, and then the whole strut assembly will drop right down. And that's the rear strut assembly outside of the car after you've had to cut it out. Notice the bottom. Hey, I was lucky enough to get it out. Let me show you what I did. I used an impact wrench, and I put it on this nut right here and started spinning it, generating friction, and that broke apart the rust. So as you can see, that's where the bolt actually broke off from. So now all we need is another bolt, and another rear strut, and we're good to go. Let's get it in. Luckily, me being a Honda guy and having done this a couple times, I have spares just for this occasion. Next step, if you don't have one, is you want to go to your local parts store and rent a spring compressor. What it basically does is it has little hooks that go on both sides of the springs, and it actually allows you to adjust this big long bolt, which compresses the spring and allows you to take the end off. I've done this enough times to where I'm just going to wing it and take it off, but urge on the side of caution if you've never done this before, and go rent a spring compressor. So let's get this off. When doing this, you're going to have some essential parts you need and some you don't. This is where it comes into play. Usually these coilovers come with these aluminum perch top hats. Those you're not actually going to use. The only thing you're actually going to use are going to be the bottom perches, the adjusters, the spanner wrenches, the springs themselves, and O-rings to actually seat down on this right here. And use some black tape or something and clean it real good to actually put the O-rings on here, and that's going to actually seat this properly. So let me show you what else you... also, hang on, before I forget, for the actual assembly, you're no longer going to need, obviously, the big spring. You're no longer going to need this dust shield because that's just going to get in the way of your adjustments. You need, this is the top hat, you're going to need this top washer. It's got a bushing inside of it, so you need that. And you at least need this bottom washer. This bottom washer is grooved, so basically you slide it in here and it actually sits right there. And you need that for when you tighten all that down. If you don't, it'll slop around and the suspension won't be stiff. So let's get to it. So when putting this together, first thing you need is your strut. Like I said, I had an extra one, thank goodness. You use the strut first. Then you want to put your washer on, just like that. Then you want to come in this kit and get these O-rings. Now you have different size O-rings. Basically, it's trial and error because obviously these kits are mostly one size fits all. So you just have a bunch of different size O-rings. Now, try this one first. Basically take it, you want to slide it over the perch right here, just like that. Then take on your collars. Now also notice you got this spring right here, and I know it's going to be kind of hard to tell, and then this spring. There's two different size springs. The thicker spring always goes on the front. The black part perches don't really matter. They're going to be the same size on most kits, but make sure the smaller spring goes on the back. Reason being, you have less weight on the back of the car because it's not supporting the engine. So next step is take your perch, slide it over, and see how it's a snug fit. That's what you want. Now to set the spring on, and we'll go to the next step. Alright, next, like I said, make sure you have your ring on. Then you take your top hat, slide that on, like so. Then your nut, oh actually, sorry, my bad. Then your washer, that way you have two washers, one on top and one on the bottom, so when you actually sandwich everything down, it's solid. Then you take your nut, put it on top, start it on there, screw it down, and then sometimes you can get lucky and use an impact on it. If not, it actually has a Allen head right there, so you take an Allen wrench and then your 14mm and tighten everything down. Okay, so after tightening everything down properly, make sure you have enough space, and like I said, you put the Allen wrench up here in this spot and then tighten the 14mm down. We're going to get it back in the car. Now basically you just compress it down like that, and then if you see up there you got the strut mount, and these two bolts right here have to slide in there. Preferred, put the nut side towards the front of the car. That way it's easier for you to get the bolt in from the very back. And I'm going to have to run and get a bolt, but I'm going to go ahead and get this side in, and I'll show you when we're done. Obviously, learn from my issues. It's always best to put a little bit of anti-seize on your bolts. That way you don't have the same problem all over again. Okay, so that's one side done. As you can see, I've got the new nut down there. As you see, the little silver stuff, that's anti-seize. Just as a precaution, because next time I don't want to have the same problem. I got really lucky being able to get the bolt out. Then you got your control arm bolt, you put that one in, and then up top you got your two strut mounts. Alright, I'm going to repeat the process on the other side, and I'll show you how to set it up. Alright, when setting these up, especially on the rear to start off with, you have the little numbers. Now the way I like to do it is I like to spin this all the way down to about right there. So where you have about, I don't know, about half an inch. And then spin the top all the way down to where they meet up and lock everything down with the spanner wrenches. So it's all about personal preference. But me, typically, I like to put it right there simply because I like my car sitting about 1 inch from the fender on all four corners. So let's get to the front. Okay, after making sure everything's tight and putting the wheel back on, let's lower everything down and see what she looks like. We're lowered now, kids. Give you guys a little bit of compare and contrast for just how dramatic this is. This is the front and that's the rear. Now I got the rear set on about 12.5 is where I set up the rear. Like I said, I like to have about an inch between the tire and the wheel for travel, and plus I plan on upgrading the wheels in the immediate future, so that should have everything sitting just right. But the good thing is it's adjustable, so you can always go back. Alright, let's get the wheels off and let's get started on the front. Forget the jack stands, safety first. Let's get this wheel off. Guys, so this is what the front looks like. I'm sorry for any noise because of the fan. It is really hot out here, so just bear with me on this one, and I'm gonna do my best I can to actually show you everything. But the front's a little more forgiving. Like I said, you got this bolt down here, which is actually a bolt and a nut. It's 17mm. Then you got the two 10s or 12s for the brake line. I don't know if you guys can see that. Got two of them, and then you got this 14 over here, which is the locking collar. So you get that one out. And then of course the two up top. So let me go ahead and get those out and I'll show you what it looks like. Alright guys, well unfortunately I had to open my big mouth. We got fail number 2. The bushing on the bottom come out. It's just how it is. This is a 94, it's an older car, so now I got to take the saws off and cut this bushing out and replace it. And also the axle on the other side is a little messed up. It's seen better days too, so I'm probably going to go get one of those from O'Reilly's. Yes, I used to work for O'Reilly's and I got a shop account, so I can get it there and get a little bit of a discount. So I'm going to have to run and go get the parts and do this, and I'll be back with you. The next day, I ended up going to war with that bottom control arm bushing. Let's see if I can get a good shot. But yeah, she's in now. You can see the new bolt. And you can see where everything kind of hooks up to the collar. And here's a good kind of side pick for you. That's where everything's attached. And I got the adjustments set up. Let me see if I can turn the collar real quick. And it's kind of hard, but you can see the numbers a little bit right there. Anyways, let's lower the car down on the ground and let's see how she works. Okay, so after much work and time and parts and everything else, let's see what the final product looks like. So as you guys can see, lowering your car makes a dramatic difference. It's going to handle a little bit tighter, side to side, not as much wobble, swaying. It's always a fun upgrade because when you put some nice set of wheels on it, it looks really good. But that's going to be it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it helped you out. If you have any questions or comments, if you want to know about the suspension I ordered so you can order them yourself, be sure to hit me up on YouTube or on Facebook. Drop a comment below. Be sure to like, share, comment, subscribe. Ring that little notification bell so you'll know every episode that comes out. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Have a good day.